Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. And I'm super excited to have another interesting guest, and she's doing interesting things, and we're going to be talking about that. And I just want a couple of public service announcements. If you would like to comment and share this content, if it's valuable, I'd love to hear about it. Drop some comments in today and ask some questions. We'll do what we can to answer them. And with that, I just want to welcome and thank you so much. All the gratitude in the world, Gina, for being here, and I hope you're well. And we're talking about leadership today. So I just want to thank you for being here. And how are you today?
Thank you very much for having me on the show. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. Really grateful. And I'm absolutely fine. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm thriving.
Good, because I really, there's a lot of changes, and we were talking about that before the show started. I think the big push right now is a lot of people are concerned about the future, and so I think the result of that concern really allows us to think about how leadership is going to look in the future. Paving the way in an unknown world, in a new normal. So could you talk a little bit about what you're thinking of and in your leadership experience, and what we can look forward to, or what we need to look at in terms of leadership in the future, and how that's going to unfold as we evolve through this unknown path?
Thank you. It's my view that there are three constants in life.
Mm-hmm.
Death, because as soon as we're born, we know that we're going to eventually part this world. Taxes and change. And one of the interesting things, I think, is that despite the fact that from the moment we're conceived until we die, not only do we go through many, many changes, but we are the constant that we take in our life every second, every moment of every day. And yet we fear change. And I understand that that's hot-wired into us from when we were cavemen and women, that, change was seen as a threat.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the interesting thing for me is that the qualities of an enlightened leader are really constructive and positive in times of boom. But the time that they become so imperative is in times of challenge and change. And enlightened leadership is leadership for life, not just for professional times. Because one of the first principles of enlightened leadership is, in order to lead others effectively, you have to lead yourself first. And by that, I mean take radical responsibility for everything that your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and your words. How and when you take them, or whether you take them or not. Because everything that we do in life is our choice. Even not choosing is actually a choice. And every choice has consequences. And often it's when we don't make those active choices that the consequences are greatest. So yes, we are in uncharted waters. But it's interesting, isn't it? If you look back over history, there's much we can learn. And one of the things that we can learn from history, there's more millionaires are made in times of dire trouble than have ever been made in boom. And I'm not talking about profiteers now. I'm talking about legitimate businesses. Why? Because those are the people who've looked for opportunities, whilst other people have seen themselves as victims to circumstances. And poor me, and what can I do? And it's all very difficult. Where enlightened leaders think, do you know what? I will survive. I don't know how. I'm going to succeed. I don't know how. But I'm going to look for opportunities, and I'm going to be prepared to be flexible. I'm going to be prepared to be resilient. I'm going to stand in my power where I'm not a victim to this. And please don't think I am making light of the situation. anything but.
Yes.
But my life experiences have taught me that if you focus on what you can do, and you have a mindset which is based on I will succeed rather than I fear I'll fail, or even I will fail, you're going to make a lot of different decisions that are going to serve you well moving forward.
Yeah.
And my belief that those people who have a vision, who are clear about the fact that they want to lead with, and for me, it has to be lead with integrity, model the behaviors that you want from others, compassion, because I think we lead a world with greater compassion in it, and the courage to do what's right rather than to go for what's easy and expedient. And interestingly, these are the principles I've used in my own very successful organization, and since 2005 with other organizations. And the interesting thing for me is that people who start to embody being an enlightened leader find that their businesses are more profitable, they're more productive, better working relationships, better health for everybody, better work-life balance, in that they have a life and it's not all about work and making money.
It's interesting what happens. A terrible thing happens when you take ultimate responsibility for your actions. You know, you have no one else to blame.
Mm-hmm.
And you become the victor and not the victim.
Absolutely.
So as you recognize that change is inevitable, and we're going through it, or we might be in the middle of it, or we might just be starting,
Mm-hmm.
that people in leadership roles and people that have, leadership is a funny thing because anybody can be a leader if they choose to be a leader,
Mm-hmm.
Setting the example, taking the initiative, taking responsibility for their actions. I think it's really important for us to understand that, we're all in a leadership role to some degree right now in the changes that are taking place.
I would take away the to some degree.
see the wisdom.
We are leaders in our own lives.
Yes.
Aren't we? If we choose to be, or we can let other people lead our lives. So let me give you an example out of personal life. If you give other people the responsibility of your emotional well-being, I mean, how often have you heard, he made me angry, or she made me upset, or I'm frustrated with whoever? They can only do that if you give them permission to do that.
Right.
Or rather, very often by default, it is because you don't give yourself permission to be responsible for your own emotions. And the same is true of your words. 95% of everything we think, say, or do is habitual. Doesn't cross our conscious mind at all. We're triggered by what people say, very often by the tone of voice, or we're triggered by the situation, and we do things because that's the way we've always done them.
Yeah, that's the way we've always done them.
And
That's a dangerous concept to follow.
Well, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Now, what's fascinating about this situation, if you take away all of the terrible grief and pain that many people are feeling, and I don't want to make light of that, but if you take away that, we are being given, the universe is offering us an opportunity to rethink, to recalibrate, to do things in a somewhat different way. Now, not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's take the best of what was going on and let's start to work together differently. I don't know about in the States, but one of the things that has been so wonderful about this period of time in the UK are the way in which people are connecting. So let me give you a few examples. I was watching a television program, this is about 4 weeks ago, bearing in mind I've been out of the house 3 times in the last 8 weeks. All right. And the guy on the television, well-known actor, was saying he'd lived in the same street for 10 years. And the houses were quite close together. It wasn't that they had huge properties where they didn't see anybody, but he'd lived there for 10 years and he'd never spoken to any of his neighbours. 10 years.
10 years and he never talked to his neighbors.
Yeah. Now, in the UK, it started off very small, that people went out on a Thursday night at 8 p.m. and clapped for the NHS and all of the key workers. And it's grown to become something huge. And in his street, they went out to clap and they started to talk. And they now go out regularly. And if they've got musical instruments, they go and they do a little concert, and all at social distancing. And he has made a real connection with the people that he lives close by to. I mean, 8 weeks ago, if I'd said to you that people are recognizing and valuing porters in hospitals, cooks in hospitals, dustbin men, the people whose jobs are vital, who got no recognition. I mean, on the media, the only time you got recognition is if you were a footballer or a sportsman or a celebrity.
Yeah.
How ordinary people doing extraordinary things on a day-by-day basis, which has always happened to some extent,
Absolutely.
are now getting recognition.
Isn't it ironic, though, that it takes a global pandemic for a neighbor to meet another neighbor?
I think it's mind-blowing. But what I would say to you is, I believe that the universe has so often tried to get us to rethink things, to get rid of our junk values and to start looking at what's really, truly important. And it's given us the odd poke, but it's needed to give us a real slap round the face before we start to take notice. It's interesting, isn't it? The environment is beginning to recover. And I hope that what we will take out of this is an opportunity to reflect on what's truly important and to start. I mean, people are being incredibly, not everybody, but far more people are being overtly kind, compassionate, thoughtful, putting themselves out for other people that they may not even know. And
well, I think there's a lot more empathy being broadcast. There's, and I applaud the caregivers and the first responders and the people that are essential workers that are out there every day doing things. And it's we have to rethink about. It's almost like a reset. Don't you feel? Don't you feel it's almost like it's an opportunity to reset how we're thinking and what we're really thinking is important?
I'm smiling because I'm just about to say to you, just take away the almost.
Okay.
This is.
Thank you for pointing that out.
It is an opportunity.
Yes.
It's up to us whether we take it. And I often hear people say, well, I can't do anything about the political situation. It's all too big. But actually, each of us has our part to play. And people who've heard me speak before will have heard this before. But, if you think you're too small and insignificant to make a fundamental difference, spend a night in the room with a mosquito. Something very small can make a big difference. So as you go out of this pandemic and as you re-emerge, if you've been in lockdown, how about as you walk past people, socially distanced, of course, that you say hi and how are you?
Yeah.
How about if random acts of kindness? How about being grateful for the things that we have? We in the Western world have got no idea what it's like for some people who haven't got enough food to eat, who've got no clean water. And then you add the pandemic and they've got no chance. Yeah. We are so well blessed, and yet we whinge and we moan and we do not take leadership of our life and recognizing that we are the common denominator in our lives and we have so much power to impact positively or not on other people.
Well, Gina, I think that brings up an excellent point that I'd like to expand a little bit for the community here is some people feel, and they've grown up in an environment that they need permission to do almost everything. You sit here, do your job this way, show up on this time, go to, do this, stand in line, be organized, And I think there's a lot of people that just need the opportunity to have permission to take ownership of their own life and responsibility for their own life. And what do you see in your leadership, in your teaching, in your coaching, and being in the community? How do you see that actually being displayed in tactics or steps? What steps can an individual take to start small, where they think, okay, I can be responsible for this piece of my life?
I think
And
it's a really interesting question. And I think many people, if you listen to that voice in your head, whose permission are you waiting to hear? And I've met clients who are 50, 60, 70 who are still listening to what their parents used to say and whether or not would my parent approve of this.
uh-huh.
And even when they've left that, then it's, would my boss approve of that? Would my community approve of that? I'm going to live my life through everybody else's approval rather than mine. And I would say that, go back to enlightened leadership. One of the things about enlightened leadership, and I think one of the reasons it's so successful, actually it's two, is one is that people give themselves permission to live in line with their core values. But the second part of that is they know what those core values are. And we
Yeah.
talk a lot about values. And so often you go into an organization and they've got the values on the wall, haven't they, as you walk in? And
Nobody can remember what they are.
but when I'm working with people, it's not just what is the core value, but what are the behaviors that you need to experience in order to know that those values are being met? What are the behaviors you need to engage in order to know that other people know that you're meeting those values?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because there's often a mismatch between how we need our values met and how other people need their values met. And the enlightened leader has the capacity to create a shared understanding of what those values are and what behaviors are required from everybody, no matter what their role, in order for those values to not only be met, but to be seen to be met by everyone.
Yeah.
Um,
And for everyone to take ownership in that as well.
Because if you wait for somebody else to tell you, then you're going to miss so many opportunities.
Yeah.
It's like, you're handing them the purse strings, you're handing them the emotional power to make your decisions for you, your
Yeah.
spiritual power. Everything is being handed over to somebody else, which keeps you very, very firmly in victim, because you have to put up with what they give you.
Yes.
If that's constructive and positive, great, but often it isn't.
Yeah.
Often it's something very different. And I know when you talk to people who are in a private situation where they're being abused, for example, verbally, emotionally, physically, the problem is that that's what they believe they deserve. Because if
Mm.
they believed that they deserved better, they wouldn't put up with it, they'd walk away. But it's interesting for me and one of the reasons why the Enlightened Leadership Program has been structured as it has, half of the Enlightened Leadership Program is about leading yourself. And the other half is about leading others. Because if you
Yes.
go into the work context and you've got a boss who's bullying you, or you feel that the boss is bullying you, you have a responsibility to do something about that. Now, I'm not suggesting that you bully back. You
Right.
can't change other people. You can only change the way in which you react.
Yeah.
But
Vicky O'Neill had a great one. It's a choice, a decision to impact people
yeah,
positively. It's good to see so many people helping others during this time. And I think it's important to understand that there's still a lot of change that we could take ownership on. There's a
absolutely.
lot of change that we're working through. And like you said, the planet is even changing. And as we reset and we have an opportunity to be different, act different, and help others be seen as being different. I think there's a lot of people that are working together in order to take ownership of their own life and the lives of other people around there. Encouragement, empathy, like we were talking about. I think there's so many things that we can actually do. And I really, it's I'm a proponent of kindness. There's generosity, and I believe that smiles are free. Take one down, pass it around, kind of. And it's really a simple act, like you said, random act of kindness and it's a simple thing that is so powerful, and you don't know what change is going to be placed in someone's life if you can just be kind and, a compliment or open a door or do something, productive and positive in their life. And it can change the way they feel about the day and the outcome of their week. So
I think that is so powerful. I was working with one of the companies that I work with consistently, and I do their training, customer service training.
mhm,
And one of the things that we talked about is you never know what's going on in anybody's life.
right.
And by the way in which you notice someone and truly see them, and that you smile, make contact with them and say, hi, how are you? And actually wait for an answer. You may be the only person that they've spoken to all day.
Yeah.
That actually recognizing that you do value them, and you may not know them and you may never meet them again. But here, human being to human being, you can make that contact, that interaction means something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sherry Lawley posted, "We can always help someone."
Absolutely true. And isn't it interesting how by helping someone that we help ourselves? But I was given a very, very salutary lesson in 2006 about helping. I've always loved helping people. It's been my life.
Yeah.
But I've not always found it easy to ask for help and receive it.
Oh.
And if I may just share this story with you. I was on a course in California, and I was working with a partner, and we were talking about helping and how lovely it was to help other people.
Uh-huh.
And you may not know, but I'm a wheelchair user. I ran an award-winning school for 20 years from my wheelchair. And
Uh-huh.
in 2006, when this happened, I was not, I now can walk short distances, but at that time I was pretty well wheelchair bound.
Mm.
And my partner said to me, you say you find it hard to help. And he got quite stroppy with me. How dare you really enjoy helping other people and not give them the opportunity to feel that good about helping you? And I listened to this, but then the course was over, and I had another couple of days before I flew back to the United Kingdom. So I went off to do some Christmas shopping. It was December, and I went off in my wheelchair. I'd hired a big electric wheelchair, went off shopping, came back to the hotel, and the hotel had a mile-long drive that was very steep. And about a third way of the way up the drive, the wheelchair conked out. It had run out of battery.
Oh, no.
Now, I wasn't with anybody. There was nobody around. My mobile phone wasn't working. There was no connection. And I thought, what do I do now? So a taxi arrived coming up the drive, and the gentleman got out, didn't speak much English, but he could see the problem. So he parked his taxi and he started to try and push my wheelchair up the hill. Not easy. So then a couple of minutes later, another taxi arrived, and there were 3 people in the car, and he waved them down and explained the problem, and they started to push him, pushing each other. And so this went on until by the time I got back to the hotel foyer, there were 17 people pushing my wheelchair. Everybody was in absolute hysterics. I was a complete spectacle, but that taught me the lesson that each of those, despite the fact that they were exhausted in pushing my wheelchair uphill, they had done something which made them feel good. They went away feeling that they had done something. So please, when you're talking about helping other people,
Yeah.
don't forget that it's just as important to receive help graciously.
That's absolutely important. It's absolutely critical. Gina, I really love the fact that you're sharing these stories with us, this wisdom and experience that we all have to share in going forward in our life. And it's amazing to me to think that if we're really aware of our surroundings and what's going on and willing to open up the idea that we can offer help and assistance and we can receive it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a two-way street. And, like Vicki O'Neill, she said, I love helping people. And I agree. It's very hard for me to ask others for help. I'm not really sure what that's about. And we may have to have another episode to talk about why it's so challenging. And it's really one of those things that a lot of people don't ask for help, and they even when they're desperate, they don't ask for help. And I think it's has a lot to do with our pride and our, ego gets in the way. And it's like, why wouldn't we allow someone the opportunity to assist us when we need it most? I think there's so many people helping each other out in these times right now. So
I think a poor sense of self-worth, I don't deserve, is a big part of the reason. And I think people are frightened of being rejected. What if they say no? So if you ask without getting emotionally entangled with the outcome, so somebody says, I'm really sorry, I haven't got time, to not see that as a rejection, but just simply that they haven't got time.
Yeah.
But if you've got a poor sense of self-worth, then that can be a bit tricky.
Yeah.
But everything starts with you. The relationship you have with you is absolutely vital. It's reflected in the relationship that you have with everybody else, and also the way in which you interact with the world. So it makes
it comes full circle.
It does.
It starts with us: responsibility, ownership, self-awareness, understanding. So spend some time with yourself today thinking about how you can actually improve, take responsibility. And I think this is a time right now where we can improve our skills, our awareness, our understanding, our empathy, our compassion. I
agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah. I love the fact that we're here, Gina, and talking, and this time goes by so quickly. And I thank you so much for being flexible and being on here. And I look forward to future conversations. And I really appreciate you and what you're doing. And how's the best way for people to connect with you?
Thank you. My websites, the two websites, genuinely-u.com. That's genuinely-u.com. And you can find lots of free stuff, but also my programs there for personal development and leadership. But if you're particularly interested as a business owner or a leader, and you want to become an enlightened leader and use this time to really get yourself into a strong position, go to enlightenedleadership.co. That's enlightenedleadership.co. And you can contact me through the website or at Gina at genuinely-u. Very happy to answer your questions.
And I think you're on LinkedIn as well.
I am indeed, yes. Genuinely You on Facebook, lots of places to find me.
Thank you so much. And as you know, kindness is cool and smiles are free. So you enjoy your day. Thank you so much, Gina. Appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about, join the Pirate Syndicate today.